So, Mrs. Vink, can you remember any special places you went to in Voorheesville, or describe them from when you were a kid, or something that's changed?
Everything has changed. Just about everything has changed. We used to walk barefoot down to the village. The bottoms of my feet have never been this, will never be the same since I was 12. Yes, there was, the drugstore was on the corner where Mike Jarris's dental office is now, and we go down there and have sodas, and the diner was still there. We'd go after school and have French fries and sodas and stuff, only they had booths along the window, so we'd sit there in the booths until they got tired of us and would kick us out. And where Stewart's is now was Mike Krolik's gas station, where all the guys hung around like in small towns they do. Just so many. Salem Hills was not there. There was no Salem Hills when I was a kid. It was just still a cow pasture. So all of that has grown up, and all of Scotch Pine, it's entirely different. It's a whole different place now than it used to be.
So, in your story, you described Jane Salvatore as the Jungle Jane.
Yes.
So, what made you admire her so much when everybody else was terrified of her?
Because I love to read. I've just always been a reader from the time I was 2 years old, practically, and my grandfather would read to me, and I devoured books. So I had a great admiration for Jane. She was so knowledgeable about books, and she obviously loved books too, that I never had that fear of her that she seemed to instill in everybody else, almost everybody else. So we got along really well.
Did you have any favorite books while growing up or even now?
Oh, absolutely. What a question to ask. I have a list of, I have favorite authors, and I'll go through and read all the books by one particular author and wait eagerly for the new book to come out. One of my very favorites growing up was, well, when I was very small, a picture book was Blueberries for Sal, where the mother and the little girl were picking blueberries on one side of a hill. Are you familiar with this?
No.
And there was a mother bear with her cub on the other side of the hill. And somehow they were both doing the berry thing, and they got confused during the day. They got mixed up. And the little bear cub ended up following the human mother, and the little girl ended up following the mother bear. And it was quite a surprise to everybody when they discovered what had happened. That was my favorite picture book. And then when I was more like a young teen, I loved A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. It was the story of a family in America that didn't have a lot of money, and it was during the Depression, and I've read that book more than once, and I don't usually read books more than once, but that's one of my ultimate favorites.
Do you have any favorite authors then or now that you still read?
Oh, yeah. I'm into crime now. I like crime, private investigator things. I like Jeffrey Deaver, Michael Connelly. James Lee Burke is one of my favorites. In fact, I met him in New York a few years ago. I had written him a fan letter back when he was, it was probably 20 years ago, before he became so well known. And he wrote me back a little handwritten letter, and I was just so excited. And we arranged to meet. He was going to be in New York for a book signing, so I went down and we met. So now we still exchange Christmas cards. And I read all the major, the ones that Dennis Lehane, Mystic River, and all that. And Stephen Cannell, who was, he died recently. I think it was last October, a year ago in October. He was just one of my ultimate favorites. I felt like one of the family had died when he died, and he is no longer part of the group. But yeah.
Are you like reading any series now that you're waiting for like another book to come out? Because that's a hard wait sometimes. You're reading and then there's another book there.
Yeah, I'm waiting for, well, actually, I just discovered Marcus Saki is a young, very cute, by the way, crime writer, and I'm friends with him on Facebook, actually, because I had written to him, too, and told him how much I liked his stuff. Okay?
Yeah. Technical difficulties.
So I'm waiting. I get a lot of those.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting. I'm waiting eagerly for his next one. But
What other books did you write? You know,
I'm bad
did
with
you write
remembering
the,
titles.
Book Thief? Was the paper thief somebody else?
No, I don't think so.
Because I know the author had like a last name, so it was like a Z or something like that. I don't know. It was really weird. I think his first name was Marcus.
Marcus, maybe it was. I don't remember the. I'm bad with
It's
titles,
new. It
but
just came out like a couple months ago.
it could
It's
have been
really-
him.
yeah.
But I don't know how long his next. He just had a new baby about 3 days ago. It's all over Facebook that he just had a baby girl, and he was in the hospital with his wife waiting for the baby to come, and he'd be posting things on Facebook about, we can't wait, we're so excited, what's taking so long? And so she was finally born, and now I expect he'll be able to get back to writing. So.
Yeah, that'd be good. So you worked at the circulation desk for the Voorheesville Public Library. What was that like? How has the library changed from when you were working at it?
Well, it was in the old building. It was in the building down, that is now the Old Songs building when I started working here. And it was the library that I grew up in. That was where I had my first library card. And it was incredibly different. It was just so tiny down there. And there were little, almost like closets in the back where one was the mystery room, and it was hardly big enough to turn around in. And they'd have just little sections with science fiction, and it just seemed like it was very squashed. And
Put together.
yeah, and we were still, of course, stamping with the end of the pencil instead of, there'd be a rubber stamp on the end of the yellow Ticonderoga pencil, and you'd hand stamp all the things with that. That was, Mrs. Salvatore always had pencils stuck behind her ear, and whenever I see one, I think of her. But then, of course, we moved to this facility, and it was entirely different, and we got computerized, and we didn't have the card catalog anymore, and everything is so much more sophisticated. We got the computers, which we never had before. It's just changed amazingly.
So you entered a lot of poetry contests, and did you enter any contests while you were in high school or even college out in Buffalo?
I'm actually not a contest enterer. I write just because I feel like it, and I'm not very competitive. So occasionally I'll submit something. I'm having 2 poems published in the Journal of American Poetry Therapy. In fact, I'm just sending in the copyright thing today. I have to sign it and send it. About my parents who both died of Alzheimer's, and I had some truly amazing experiences with Alzheimer's, and I wrote a lot of poetry during that time. But I'm not. I won the Poet Laureate contest down at Smith's Tavern the first year that they had it. But I'm not very competitive, so I don't.
Just write for fun.
I write for fun, and we've been the group that's met here at the library for 20 years now. I've been the coordinator for that group.
Do you have any favorite poets like Robinson Jeffers, Langston Hughes, Robert Frost, any of those people?
My favorite poet is Billy Collins. He's one of the modern poets, and he writes very much the way I do. Not that I'm comparing myself to him because he's magnificent, but in a very colloquial way. He just like he's having a conversation with somebody, and that's kind of the way I write too. So I'm very fond of him. There's also a black woman poet named Lucille Clifton, who I was privileged to see over at RPI a couple of years ago, and she also, I am an admirer of hers. I have several of her books, some autographs and stuff. So, yeah, those are 2 of my favorites.
When did you realize that you enjoyed writing poetry?
I probably started in high school. I still have a few poems that I wrote in college that I hang on to and just look at them and think how bad they were. But I started writing stories when I was in elementary school because I was reading all the Nancy Drew mysteries.
Yeah.
And so I would write mystery stories, and I tried to publish a newspaper, dittoing it off, and I did that in grade school. But I didn't really get seriously into poetry until this group started here at the library.
Well, when you were in high school, did you have anywhere you could like publish your work? Like now they have like the Blackberry Review where I just send some stuff. And do you have, or did they have any like school newspapers you could publish stuff in?
They did, but I don't remember. I mean, there was the Health Barker, of course,
Yeah.
but I don't remember that they ever published poetry. We would do a creative writing booklet. Mrs. Skidmore, who no one will remember anymore, Alma Skidmore was my French teacher, and she was also the creative writing advisor before Mr. Willis. And we'd have a little booklet that we'd put together just of our own poems, but it was not nearly the polished, lovely, creative thing that you guys publish now.
Yeah, so you took French in high school then?
I did. I took a lot of French in high school.
Did you ever write any poems or books in like French?
I tried. I tried to write a poem, and it was not a success. In fact, I marvel at the fact that I studied French so much, and then I took another year in college, and I went to France, and I couldn't understand a word anyone was saying because it's so different. Written French
so fast.
And they're so fast, and also, all French people speak English. They don't always let you know that they do. But they do. Yes, and. So, yeah, I enjoy languages. I enjoy English. Learning, that's part of liking poetry, I think, is to enjoy words.
Because you have to have, like, good, like, backgrounds and knowledge of the language in order to use it for, like, different personification purposes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what else influenced your poetry? Like, what styles do you like to use? Like, rhyme schemes, free verse?
Most of what I write is free verse. In the group, we will sometimes have an assignment. Not often, but once in a while we'll get, like, everyone will write on the same subject. Like, one time we did chocolate, I remember. And one time we took Edward Hopper artwork, and each of us took a different painting and wrote a poem about the painting. But I occasionally write something that rhymes, but not very often.
Rhyming's very hard, I find.
It's very difficult, but I admire the rhyming poets. I love Yeats and Keats and Browning, and, they're wonderful.
It takes a lot of work to find two perfect words.
Yeah, and the cadence, they always make it come out so perfectly. And it's kind of miraculous when you can do that. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
But I don't do that very often. Usually when I do, it turns out to be something funny,
Yeah. Like just random words that rhyme.
I write about my sister. I wrote a rhyming poem about my sister once that she has never read, thank God, and I hope she never does, because I was probably mad at her at the time. But it went on for about 2 pages, and everything rhymed. But I should probably just destroy it now before she ever sees it.
So you said in the poetry group, like, you guys sometimes look at paintings or pictures. Because I know some writing exercises now you can look at a picture and make a story behind it. Did you ever do that growing up? Did you ever have any, like, writing assignments that got you interested in writing?
I did. I've always loved to write. I was always good in English and always enjoyed writing the essays and not the research so much.
I love writing, but I hate research papers.
Yeah. When I got to college and I had creative writing, then I enjoyed that much more. And I don't remember any specific assignments that, got me going, but I've started several autobiographies because I always have such interesting things happen to me, and I want to remember them, but in fact, I'm writing a book, or I was writing a book when I was going through this Alzheimer's thing with my parents. I probably have about 20 chapters done. I really did a lot on it.
Did you handwrite it all or just type it?
On the computer. Yeah.
The handwriting would be a little painful.
Painful, and it's so much easier to revise things and, edit things on the computer.
Yeah, it is.
But then both of my parents died, and I kind of got tired of thinking about it. It was such a trying experience that I didn't want to think about it anymore, and so I never went back and wrapped it up and finished the book. But it's still sitting there. I may do that someday.
I think that'd be good. So, did you have any poems that you wrote that you really remembered that you, like, thought were your better ones, or that was, like, your favorite poem you ever wrote, or story, or anything along those lines?
I think the very best poem I ever wrote was about Darfur. which is the country in Africa that, one of the many countries in Africa that have been going through such strife. And um, I saw a picture of a mother holding a baby with the big eyes and hardly any body. He was just so skinny, and they had flies buzzing around him, and it was just such an awful, awful picture that I couldn't get it out of my head. And I wrote a poem about that, and I think that was the one that won me the Poet Laureate thing, because it was very emotional.
So you like a lot
and
of
very
imagery, poetry,
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
A
That
lot of
was.
good descriptions.
I'm proud of that one.
Yeah.
I'm not always proud of the ones that I do, but I was proud of that one.
Yeah. Any like other special things you wrote in college or anything that did anybody ever like see something that you wrote and told you that you should be like writing, or did anybody like ever encourage you to write?
What I enjoyed, well, Art Willis. Did you know Mr. Willis?
No.
He was the head of the department, head for psychology and social studies. He retired maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. You wouldn't have
Yeah,
known him. You're too young. But everybody adored him. My kids all had him, and everybody just really loved him. Well, after he retired, he joined our poetry group, and he was a great admirer of mine, and it was so encouraging to me, and I just really was quite influenced by his praise and his criticism when he had it. So he was very influential in me, and I forgot the original question. What was it you asked me? What?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what it was either.
Either.
But yeah.
Oh, something along the lines of somebody ever encourage your writing or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So then you did answer the question.
I did.
Yeah.
What else? The other thing that I like a lot is we used to go and do readings. There were 3 of us from the poetry group, and sometimes we'd have musical accompaniment, and we'd go and we read at Borders and different, libraries and art galleries and that kind of thing. And afterwards, people would come up and say to me, I really felt what you were talking about, and or they'd say, oh, my mother is just like that. I know exactly what you meant. And I always found that so edifying, that I was really touching somebody, having a universal experience that I was writing about that spoke to somebody else. And I think that encouraged me as much as anything.
Yeah. Can you recite one of your poems that you memorized, like any favorites you had or read for contests?
I can't.
What are like... Yeah.
I don't memorize them. I need to read them, so.
Yeah, like what topics? Or just wide variety of topics, or?
A wide variety of topics. As I say, do some political stuff, and war. War is very close to my home, to my heart, because I have 2 boys who are now in their 30s, but at the time they were, Desert Storm was going on when they were in college, and I didn't want them to be drafted, and so I'm very anti-war. So I wrote about war quite a bit, and then when we got in Afghanistan and Iraq, it just hit my heart, so I wrote a lot about that. Other than that, I write about family a lot, now I have grandchildren and relationships, and of course a big chunk of my work was about my parents and what we went through when, they were dying. So it was, it's mostly emotional type stuff.
So like, do any of your kids or grandchildren now enjoy writing and kind of do what you were doing, like following your footsteps?
My younger son, he's a writer. In fact, he's an actor, and they lived in New York most of the time. He is married now, and he's got kids, so he's not doing as much acting, but he's also a writer, and he does